Set. 4, 3, 1.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback. Today, we are four pastors who love ministry, leadership, and sports. Today is John and Adam's favorite Monday, favorite episode probably we will ever record. Adam, how is your day going so far?
It's a great day here in Richmond, Virginia. And I said this last year, this episode, this one right here, is the reason when I was asked, would you like to start a podcast? I said, sure, because today is a great day to be recording on the podcast. And so one question for you boys. How about them Cowboys?
And John, it's John's favorite month. John, what do you refer to this time of year as?
This is when the delusional Cowboy fan hits reality every time. This is the best time of the year. You know, when you get past Christmas, you wonder, what am I going to looking forward to? What's ahead? What's the next thing on the calendar? And for most pastors, most Christians, you're just looking at Easter, but then you get a gift from the Lord. And the Cowboys come to whatever prospect they've had, whatever thoughts they had. Was it a catch, not a catch? We always come back to this moment when Cowboys fans come to reality and we get to go, I told you so. So here we are. I told you so.
You know, it's almost like being asked, you know, like, what's going on? The sun came out today. Water is wet. 2 + 2 is 4. And here we are in the second week in January, and the Cowboys took a L.
Oh, Dad, you know, they're supposed to be shepherds. You think they'd like be pastoring us right now, but they're just like loving our pain. What you got, Dad?
I just don't understand about the delusion. Because I have 5 words to say. Just wait till next year.
Yeah, next year.
Next year. I don't get the delusion. I don't get it. Hey, we had a great year. Now, in reality, it was painful. It was painful. We need to clear the deck. We need a culture change. Some of the things that we all saw glaring, you know, the guts of that defense was exposed. How can you defend Dak? You can't defend McCarthy. In reality, I want to give kudos to Green Bay. They came in. Love played a great game. The scheme was great. The defense, they were pumped, ready. They were playing with house money. And the talent that was there showed. And we just weren't ready. And again, if we're not winning and we're not fired up and, you know, we get down, same thing happens to us every single time. So we got to start all over.
You know, if we're gonna wear our victory polos, then we gotta wear our playoff L polos, because that's the true fans. The fake fans are like, oh, they do it every year. We don't care about them anymore. But hey, if you're gonna be a true fan, you got to be there through thick and thin. Here's the bad part, Dad. I think John and Adam were more surprised than we were. On the group chat, John said, "Oh, they actually gonna do this, huh?" And they bought into the hype just like we did, because we were rolling.
No. Let's just chill out. First off, it's amazing that your victory polo is also your L taking polo. So let's just call it a polo from here on out. And the second thing is, nobody was shocked, right? What we're shocked by is it was Green Bay, the first number 7 seed to win a playoff game.
Yeah, and it was over in the first quarter. Playoffs.
But we thought you'd make it past the number 7 or 8 seed or something, and you guys got it at home. It was the what were y'all 8-0 at home?
16-0, John. 16 straight at home.
Bro, y'all got a blip. I was shocked that Green Bay handedly destroyed you guys. Defense got shut down, one of the best defenses. Nobody was shocked about Dak. Everybody's
talking about a top 5 defense all time.
Yeah, and you guys just got worked, man. I had the running back for Green Bay fantasy football all year. Never clips 100 yards of rushing. Never had multiple touchdown games. Walks into Dallas just buzzsaw. It was amazing. We're thankful for it.
Well, here's big picture takeaways, and I think y'all can appreciate this. We were the classic talented team that was soft. We were soft. We were fraudulent. Now, I think we admitted we were fraudulent throughout the year when we lost to Miami, when we
Are you
barely.
eating your popcorn, John? John, are you eating your popcorn? Oh,
Yeah.
No, I'm having my cake and I'm eating it too.
man.
John's got his popcorn. We got Mr. Adam A. Smith down here thinking he's on first take.
Hey, let me give you the big picture, okay? It's not your time to talk today, okay? We don't want to hear the big picture about the Cowboys today. Here's the big picture. You guys have not been in the NFC Championship game. Not won the Super Bowl, not appeared in the Super Bowl, not won the NFC Championship game. You have not appeared in that game since Michael Jordan was playing baseball. So that's all I've got to say. And when you think about it, listen to this. I did some math. The year 2052 is as far away as the last time the Cowboys made an NFC Championship game. So I just want you guys to meditate on that and enjoy this day.
Hey, look, Dad, Dad, we'll put on our prosperity preacher hats for a minute and we'll just see the glass half full. One could wallow in the negativity or one could see the optimism because the reality is we all knew we couldn't beat San Francisco. So people were acting. What?
I have optimism. I'll share.
So here's the optimism. Ready for this? We already knew we weren't going to beat San Francisco. So people were acting like us getting to the NFC Championship was a Super Bowl. So would you rather, Dad, I got a question. Would you rather get to the NFC Championship and lose to San Francisco and try again another year? Or would you get the worst embarrassing mollywopped in the first round that you ever have and get a new coach? Yes!
It's all about Super Bowl. Get rid of that regime.
Yeah, new regime. Hey,
okay. Hey, we got to move on with this because clearly you guys got booted out, and we're still talking about Dallas. Two things. One is it's amazing how fast the delusion resets itself. We're already talking about. I'm glad we failed, so we can get to the next thing. Joseph, the background in your room pretty much puts where your head is right now. You are in the clouds, brother. You got to come back down to earth. Y'all took a whooping. You should be embarrassed for a couple months. And you shouldn't be able to pull it back together until it hits maybe May. Okay, we can talk about this again in May. Thank the Lord, it's over. We took the ride. Everybody wanted to get off. Now we can get off the ride. Everybody can say, let's never do that again.
I got a question for both y'all. Since y'all have objectivity and we apparently don't. I think it's clear we all think McCarthy's out, which, Dad, can I tell you, the day that I'm going to have the most joy in about 4 weeks from now, we're going to get a text, and it's going to be Adam. You know how he sends those emoji crying? He's been sending us every time he watches C.J. Stroud. Here's what's going to happen, Dad. We're all going to get the da-na-na, da-na-na. Panthers name new head coach Mike McCarthy to save and fix their quarterback. I'm telling you, I'm speaking it into existence. Yes. It will happen.
We're not doing that. See, we're not doing that.
12 and 5 season. Who's going to go to the Panthers? He'll take McCarthy.
We're not doing that today, guys. Here's why. You guys know why I can't stand the Cowboys. It's because they dominate the national media narrative and their fans are everywhere. I told you how back in Thanksgiving, I went fishing in North Carolina, didn't see a soul, and then suddenly sprung out of nowhere were 3 Cowboy fans just out fishing in my spot. I can't stand you guys because you guys think everyone cares about you. So here's why I can't stand them. The Detroit Lions, I'm going to segue this. We're moving on. The Detroit Lions, major American city, starving fan base, passionate football state and city. They won their first home game, playoff game in 32 years yesterday. So we're going to talk about teams that matter. All right. So what is the take on you guys' other games other than the Cowboys?
Dad, what'd you see? What's outside of the Cowboys? What caught your eye so far? Let me disclaim, Dad. Let me disclaim. We're recording on Monday, so we have yet to see the Bills game or the Eagles game. So just for the record, but go ahead.
I will say this, and I think we're all going to be in one accord in this. I am rooting for Detroit to go all the way. Now, do I believe that they're going to? Probably not. but I think that they're going to give it their best swing. I think that they can win this next game against either Philly or Tampa. And then I think I want to see them go against the Niners. Am I going to bet again with them? No. But do I think that they're going to come in and give it their best swing? I do not think they're going to lay an egg. And so I'm excited for them. Kansas City impressed me a little bit just because of their tenacity. You know, they had to play in that cold weather too. And so that's cold for anybody. So they impressed me. Miami, they are who we all thought they were, given their injuries and everything that happened with them. And one last thing, Houston. Wow, I did not see that one coming. Cleveland laid an egg. That defense laid an egg. And Stroud, guys, I got to tell you, man, not only am I rooting for that guy and hoping for his best, but I'm praying for him. Man, his faith is out there in front of everyone. And so I'm praying for him, not just for success, but for what success can bring him, a bigger platform with the greatest message one can ever know. So there's a lot going on in the NFL, and I'm excited to kind of see how all this turns out. Baltimore, of course, San Fran. I think it's going to be a great rest of the playoffs.
John and Adam, what did y'all think about Stroud lighting it up as a rookie? What y'all think about that?
Man,
I was glad to see the best quarterback in the state of Texas do so well, win that playoff game, and have the best rookie season. You know, they're saying he's having the best rookie season any quarterback has ever had. So it does hurt me as a Panthers fan, but like Joe said, you know, I'm cheering for the young man. It pains me to see him do so well, to know he could be from my team, but I'm happy to see him doing well. And it was a fun football weekend. The Lions, that was a cool, great story, especially with Stafford and Goff. But what do you think, John?
I was watching the games, and I'm not upset about Stroud. Here's the thing. I would have been suspect taking them because Ohio State's turned out some real duds. And here recently, Alabama's turned out a lot better talent, at least at the quarterback position. So I think all the cards on the table, I think you made the right decision. No one could ever anticipate that, but I'm happy for him. I think he's obviously they needed somebody at quarterback morally sound and making good decisions for that team. While at the same time, I'm cheering for the Lions. You know, I think if they can get past the 49ers, and it's a long shot, right? Like it's going to be a hard sell, but I think that's the team to beat, and I think that's the only way you're going to win a championship. Although playoff Patrick is out there, he is calling in, and all of a sudden the game elevates when it comes to the playoffs. So it's going to be an interesting shootout next couple games. So yeah, I'm cheering for the Lions, even though I think 49ers are still the favorites.
Yep, I agree. And, a little shout out, Mr. Paul Lasso. We're all sitting at home in snow, so I'm sure he didn't want to come on here like us and have to eat his dolphin crow because he don't even have a polo to wear. Maybe next year we'll get him a polo so he can actually represent his team. But, hey, think with me real quick to Miami, because even though they lost, that was a tough game. That was a tough sell. Miami had a good year. They're solidifying themselves like, okay, Tua is the guy for the future. But where do they go? How do they get better? Do y'all think it's just getting healthy? Or is there something that they're missing, or can they become a contender? If you're a Miami fan, where do you take that? Anybody?
I think they got to get healthy. I think there were a lot of question marks coming in, and they hit the worst. Miami players load up, they leave South Beach, 70-something degrees, they land. It's miserable. It is absolutely miserable. And they drop in, and the conditions were reflective. Also missed a whole lot of plays. If you rewind it, there were some moments where it was like you make a couple catches here and it changes the whole shape of the game. But I think the elements and the injuries were just too much to overcome.
Yep. No, I agree. Hey, guys, so obviously we can't speak with certainty about the divisional round, but I think we have an idea of some of the games. So let's kind of project forward to divisional round going into the championships. And I'm going to present some possible matchups. Okay, we definitely have Green Bay at San Francisco. I think Green Bay, if they were a 7-point underdog for us, it'll probably be a 10-point underdog against San Francisco. The quarterback Love looked good, but I don't know. I don't know about that. Do you guys think, Dad, do you think Pat Mahomes is reminding everybody, will this be one of his greatest achievements? Because, I mean, if you put him up against Lamar, I mean, Lamar's got a lot to prove this year, too. Do you think he can pull off some magic and get to Super Bowl? I mean, they would have to, assuming Buffalo wins, which is who I'm picking for tonight's game, assuming Buffalo wins, I mean, that's going to be, we got the potential Mahomes, Allen showdown here, too. What do you see? How do you see, Dad, the AFC playing out?
I think that Baltimore's going to play Kansas City, and I think that's going to
Think
be
Buffalo's going to lose at home?
No. I'm sorry. I think Baltimore is going to play Kansas City. I think that's going to be
No.
So if Baltimore wins, they play Kansas City, correct?
Yes. At Buffalo, I believe.
Yeah, I think they can beat Buffalo. That defense right now is playing lights out, and they have a cornerback over there that's just sticking everyone. So, Buffalo's got one good wide receiver. Their run game, has been much better. Of course, they went mollywopped us, but that Kansas City the defense is on another level right now. And so if that defense can hold the offense, to 17 to 20 points, I think Mahomes can get the rest of the points to win. So if they end up playing, I'm still going with Mahomes. With that defense, you got to go with Mahomes.
Against Baltimore? We'll save that for next week. Adam, what do you see What do you see in the next week or so in the AFC leading into the conference championships?
Well, I heard a stat today, and I probably knew this, but I'm reminded of it, the past several years now, is that Mahomes has not played an away playoff game since, kind of the Mahomes era started, I guess you'd say. So, the past few years, the Bills are right there. That game a few years ago that went down to the wire and there was all that scoring in the end. If this one can end up being those two teams in Buffalo, and the way that the Chiefs have struggled throughout the year and they've kind of sputtered to get to this point, the other day, that was probably their cleanest game I remember them playing, at least on prime time that I've seen. So I think the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs and then ultimately match up with Baltimore also.
This is the year. This is the year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like, if there is a year, Mahomes that has no receivers, that guy, he was playing well yesterday, but he has no receivers. Kelsey seems off. This is the year that the Bills need to make hay.
That would be cool too. I would like seeing Baltimore and Buffalo, two quarterbacks that need to prove something. So both of them have that opportunity. What I'm going to do so, and let's be honest, I think the most appealing Super Bowl matchup is Baltimore San Fran Part 2, and then can they replicate it and beat them twice, or Buffalo and San Francisco, Josh Allen and the wild horse pony that he is versus San Francisco. I mean, I think the only thing that would be more shocking than a Cowboys first round exit is San Francisco losing up to the Super Bowl. So that'll be interesting to see. Hey, last take on sports before we go to ministry and leadership. John, we'll start with you and work around the horn.
Wait, hold on. What did you just say a minute ago? You said it would be more shocking than a Cowboys first round exit.
Yeah, if the Niners did not make it to the Super Bowl, that would be. Oh yeah, you think the Lions have a shot in the world to beat the Niners? No, they're a.
Well, why did you insert that about Dallas as though that's like
they can't help themselves, man? They cannot help themselves. Hey, let's just say this: nobody's concerned about Green Bay coming on and putting a beating on any other team. I think the shock is the fact that it was Green Bay, not Dallas losing. Dallas is a type of team you just stand in the corner, just wait over there and start practicing falling down. Somebody's going to come over in a minute.
Hey,
The fact is, no. We're looking at a Green Bay team that lost to some really bad teams, the Giants, and then they won against some really good teams by like 3 points. And you guys made them look spectacular. Like, people are buying Love jerseys, and it's going overboard. And they're going to come to San Fran, and they're just going to get swamped.
Hey, but I've been saying for a while, Adam and I have been on the Jordan Love band because he's got a whip, man. I get what they saw, and Goody or whatever his name is, Gooden host or whatever, and then LaFleur. They're looking like smart guys. Aaron Rodgers had it double whammy last night. One hand, you knew he was dying laughing at McCarthy. He's like, I told y'all. But in another hand, he's thinking, oh, darn, they found my heir apparent, and maybe they were right. All right, let's do this and move around the horn. There's a few coaches, mainly 3 that are on the board right now. And let's play Land the Coach. John, we'll start with you, then Adam, then Dad. Tell me where these 3, or these, we'll say 4. We'll just take some guesses. We got Jim Harbaugh, assuming he goes pro. We'll just assume. You got Bill Belichick. You got Mike Vrabel, and you got Pete Carroll. Off the top of your head, John, where do they land? If you just today, if you had to guess.
I don't know if I can run them all off.
That's fine. That's why you have to hit all.
I can tell you where I hope they land.
All right,
right?
That's cool.
I hope that Harbaugh finds a way to land all the way down in the great city of Charlotte and does some magic. I'm hoping, I'm praying over and against everything for that to happen. Here's the thing. I don't think he'll land with the Chargers. I know it seems like a good fit, everything else. I don't think it's the greatest job. Here's the thing. Chargers don't have enough national media attention, I don't think, to pull him in. So I'd be really shocked if he landed there. I could see Bill making his move down to Tennessee. Personally, I think it would be good. There's optimism there. It's a low expectation. I think he could have a little bit of control coming in. I'd really like Vrabel to be considered for the Panthers. I like him as a coach. I think he's a straight shooter. I don't think the owner is going to allow that. I think he's going to look for some offensive prodigy that's going to form his quarterback that he's hand selected to be the next guy. I don't know outside of that. I think there's still a lot of time on the table, but I think there's a lot of good coaches out on the market in a real way, and I think the Raiders are going to nab one of the top ones if I had to guess.
That's one I could see a dark horse. I could see Vrabel going to the Raiders. He just fits that. You know, he still brings that New England temperature. But I want to hear Adam. Adam, what do you think?
Well, I think all the reports are kind of indicating that Harbaugh going to the Chargers is almost a done deal. And obviously it's hour by hour. But I will say this: I wouldn't go there if I were him. If Jerry Jones really wants to win a Super Bowl before he dies, I mean, let's be honest, he needs either Jim Harbaugh. So if there is a hint that Jerry knows that Harbaugh is not going to the Chargers, he needs to empty his bank account, do whatever he needs to do to get him, or get Belichick. And I know that people say they wouldn't work together well, but how much do you want to win, Jerry? We know what Mike is. We know what Dak is. And I had an idea. Russell Wilson is looking for a team. You wouldn't want Russell Wilson for the Cowboys?
No.
Okay.
I was going to ask y'all, what do y'all think? Let's pause for a second. John and Adam, today, if you were general manager, Dak's up for an extension coming off his worst playoff loss, and he came up second MVP voting. What do you do? Do you cut him? Do you make him take a pay cut? Or do you extend him? What do you do?
Here's the deal. Dak Prescott, you say his worst playoff loss as if he's never thrown multiple interceptions in a playoff game before. He does that every single year.
Yeah, against the best defense in the league for like 4 years, the Niners. I mean, everybody does that against the Niners.
Okay, but yesterday he did it against the Green Bay Packers. I can't name anyone other than Jair Alexander on the Green Bay Packers, and he didn't play in the second half.
So what do you do with him? You move on for Russell Wilson?
Again, Jerry Jones is like, what, 83, 82 or something?
Here, let me jump in.
Hold on. I want to hear John first. I want to hear a non-Cowboy fan. John, what would you do? Then we'll pass it to you, Dad. Go ahead, John.
I would get him to take a pay cut.
I agree.
I think that's the right. Because here's the thing: did he have a good season? He had a good season, but here we are, and again, playoffs. You took an L. Why don't you prove something in the playoff? Why don't you earn the pay raise? Right, like the job's not finished, so to speak, or you franchise tag him. I think that's a possibility going forward. And you give him another year and say, hey, we're going to give you an opportunity shot. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. I'm not saying he's a terrible quarterback at all. I wouldn't substitute Wilson in for him for a lot of different reasons. But I
would only say that idea if Belichick or Harbaugh didn't go to Dallas, because I think I think those two coaches and those two alone can maybe win a Super Bowl with Dak.
I agree.
There you go. That's where I come in. They can't franchise tag him. He's got one more year, so he's going to be lame duck. I think he's got like 58 million. So they got to work something out there. But I was telling Joseph, I think that Dak and Mike McCarthy are the same person. And so when you both have a bit of mediocrity there, they have hit their ceiling together. But I do believe that if you bring in, like you said, Adam, a good coach, a Belichick type coach to help and bring Dak to that next level, I think Dak has that capability with some good structure around him. He's actually really good structured. When he starts to, fly off the handle or try to become Mahomes, that's where he fails. And that's where they always loses it. So I think if you get some structure around him, I think he has a higher ceiling, but it's got to be a elite coach. So if I'm Jerry, I'm like, hey, this is it. This is my last chance. You got some gifts handed to you, great coaches right in front of you. You're either the billionaire that you say you are, and you're willing to spend the money on this great franchise, or you're not. So this offseason is going to tell a lot. But before we even get there, he's a very loyal guy. So we got to see if he's going to go ahead and let Mike McCarthy go. I'm pretty sure he will, but I'm not 100%. So this is going to be a real interesting next week or so.
So who you want? If you got one coach, who you picking? Who's your coach? You got to pick it.
Talking about for the Panthers?
No, Harbaugh for you. Who's your coach, Adam, for the Panthers?
Some guy I've never heard of, because that's really our only option. I don't see any of these top tier available coaches coming to the dumpster fire that is the Panthers. But I will say this, and maybe it's because of where I live, about an hour south of DC. Boy, I'm telling you, and I know the hot commodity, aside from those we've named, is Ben Johnson with Detroit. This franchise up in DC is about to change because new ownership. They're about to move and get a new stadium. They've got a bunch of cap room, and they've got the number 2 pick. So I think whether it's Ben Johnson or Vrabel, whoever it is, and obviously they're in a decent division in the NFC East, but that's a good job right now, which is weird to say, but it is.
Only because you got you got the second pick. Here's the thing: I think now the monkey wrench, Dallas losing, is going to halt everything. You're not going to see, once there's clarity on is McCarthy gone, I think everybody's going to sit tight. And then once that happens, I could see Vrabel going to the Raiders. I could see Vrabel going to the Chargers. I could see Belichick, if Philly loses tonight, there's a lot of speculation he could go right down the coast a little bit in Philly. That'll be interesting. So Pete Carroll's going to land somewhere. I could see Tepper saying, hey, let me get a Pete Carroll or an older seasoned guy. I think that'd be a step up of Rivera, create culture, get a young quarterback, put a run game and defense around him. So I don't know. It'll be real interesting. I think the coaching, this is the best coaching offseason of movement and availability that there's been in years. So definitely.
Hey, before we jump into the ministry thing, just because of last week, right? Yep. Last week, somebody said, hey, can we just say that Dak had a great season? So I'm just going to ask that. Joseph, can we all affirm that playoff Dak is a thing with the second coming of Tony Romo and every other predecessor, and the wheels fall off?
Before yesterday, I said that it was a false narrative that he played terrible in the playoffs. I mean, San Francisco he played bad against San Francisco. As of yesterday, Dak has self-created that the wheels fall off and he's playoff Dak. So I will affirm that. Here's why. It's the curse of Jerry Jones firing Jimmy Johnson. We tried to bury it and put him in the Ring of Honor, and the curse is still following us. So yes, John, today you are right, sir. All right, well, now that we've eaten all of our football crow, my dad, y'all beat him up so bad, he had to jump off. But anyway, let's segue to our ministry and leadership segment and portion. And so, Adam, why don't you take us into our next topic?
Yeah, I want to talk just for a few minutes and then get you guys to give your wisdom and insight about unmet expectations. And I want to focus on that because anyone who leads anything, and namely if there are those that are in any kind of vocational ministry, we understand that we have a very high and, holy calling on our lives. And so it seems if you just know people and look at church history, the people that have been most effective are those that have those high expectations of themselves and, have what you might think of as like a holy ambition. And to be careful, it's not, the advertisement of self, it's not self-promotion. It's a genuine desire to glorify God in your calling and reaching your full potential. But there is a danger in that, as good and as right as that can be. We're on a sports podcast here, and you think about the greatest athletes who have ever lived. Even in the past week, we've seen Saban, the greatest college coach, walk away. All of these people have this in common. They were highly driven to be great. And so that's good. But the danger is if you place expectations on yourself that maybe they're unrealistic, and perhaps in your heart, you viewed it as a grand, opportunity to glorify God, and you saw the end looking different than maybe it became, that can be crushing to anyone in ministry. And I think that's true just in life also. So in that, we need to learn to not place our identity in our ministries or whatever it is that we're doing, and to also walk with that realization, I'm not in control of everything. And so whether plans fail and don't come to the fruition we thought, or people let us down, or things just don't wind up the way we anticipated, we have to learn to trust and rest that God is still good, and also to trust that his providences are far above what we envision for our lives at times. So it's an interesting topic because I think this is one of those things that a lot of people that lead and lead well internally struggle with and try to find that balance of, I want to be great, I want to serve, I want to give all that I am, but also resting in knowing that, where God has me is exactly where he wants me to be. What do you guys think?
John, you want to jump in first?
Yeah, well, I think what you're posing, I think, is a really helpful thing because it's almost like walking on this tightrope. On one side, you have the potential for, apathy and failure and despondency, and you looking at it like, man, what happens if I don't achieve the things that are going on in my head? At the other side, you have just as much a greater risk. What if you succeed at what's going on in your head, and what did you not foresee that costing? And somewhere in the middle of that is a happy contentment in the Lord to have dreams and ambitions and be driven to honestly fall into bed exhausted from serving the Lord at the end of the day. But like as you said, kind of carefully parsing out identity as it rests and remains in the Lord and not your quote unquote success in ministry. And so I think for me, just looking at the potential for some of the things I want to accomplish things for the kingdom. I want to be useful to God. I want to be fruitful for the kingdom. I don't want to just sit on the bench and write it in, mail it in. I don't think any of us want to do that. That's why we get along with one another, and we're always looking for ways to kind of help challenge one another and push ahead. For me, though, I think over the last 3 or 4 years, I've really found a great sense of joy and faithfulness and a willingness to fail. I think really good leadership is willing to take failure, because if you're not willing to take failure, then you become crippled and you just will not continually move forward. And so I think a lot of people have all the tools, they have all the skills, and then they look at it and they're like, man, I don't want to fail in front of everybody. And if I do that, I'll be done. And so I think with the expectations, those expectations put you at risk for failure and unmet expectations, which is what the great players wrestle with, the great men of God wrestle with. But I think even the failures and the running out on, we read through Paul's letters and it talks about people abandoning him. He had ambition to see these church planted and flourish. You look at Spurgeon, the downgrade controversy that nearly ripped his ministry apart as the prince of preachers with great ambition to create a school and everything else. And so I think some of the tension, some of the joy is the expectations are never going to be realized likely in our lifetime. And so we have to be okay with that. And the other side of that is failure is never final. And so I think if we can move ahead with some of those now, personally, new in a church, dreams birthed in my heart, looking for opportunity to see the Lord continue to grow our fellowship. But I've also seen some things shift in our congregation that I didn't foresee when I first arrived. And you ask yourself, are you still happy with your vocational location and what the Lord's doing? And I couldn't be happier. I'm more content today than I was at day one or month one. And I think that's just because you get a growing sense of the providence of God calling you to a place and to exercise faithfulness over a long tenure to see how God can be glorified through your actions. And so, I think it's a healthy dream to have expectations.
That's good.
Yeah, and one thing, even as we kind of pose that idea or that question is, what do we mean by failure? What do we mean by success? I think we've talked about this before. Success is faithfulness. So John mentioned faithfulness. So when you think about that, I heard an evangelist kind of use this way of thinking with anything in church. If you go and share the gospel with someone, and we would kind of categorize that as that's a ministry I'm doing, and they don't believe on the spot, would you say you failed? The answer I would hope is no. I did what I was supposed to do. I followed the Lord and I presented the gospel to someone. I would view that as something to celebrate, a success. Obviously it's not the ultimate success in that situation, but that's true in ministry. Like John said, getting past being afraid of things not coming together as you thought. Maybe one reason we struggle with this in American churches is we try to quantify everything in ministry, whether it's attendance or baptisms or budgets, whatever it is. We can say, well, we did this event or we started this or we changed this in our church. And, we hope to see this happen because of that. And you can't quantify spiritual ministry. So I really appreciate what John said. What do you think, Joseph?
Yeah. I thought it was great. My mind took me, John, what you talk about a lot, for me, it's, personally and ministerially, it's a battle of flesh and spirit. And, I think personally, and as far as church wise, the flesh wants to set the pace for our aspirations of success. And so you always talk about letting the Lord set the pace, or letting the Lord, being faithful to the body that God's called you to. And so I think pastors typically go one of two ways. One, their natural bent is a little bit like they always sometimes want to do too much, or they're super, they want to conquer the world and say, whoa, slow down. Or sometimes they're the opposite, and they're not willing to take a shot or take a chance because of risk of failure. So for me, I think it has to start with being self-aware, like my dad talks about all the time, knowing who you are. And so for myself, like both of you guys, I'm a go-getter. And so sometimes I got to slow down and say, okay, is this ministerially, is this what Joseph wants, or is this really what the Lord wants? And then personally and spiritually, one of the things that I'm all the time trying to do and be better of is having good people around me that can check me, that hold me accountable, and that can help me put good expectations. Because sometimes I don't put good expectations on myself, or, one way or the other, if I'm working too hard, or if I'm not working enough, or if I think pride gets in the way. Like you're saying, our personal expectations become more fleshly. And so I always have to have that inward battle. Like right now, our church is going through a growth stage. And so flesh wise, I have to be cognizant. Hey, like it's like you're saying, Adam, it's not all the time about numbers or groups or all that. That's my internal bent is go, go, go. Now, I also don't think it's bad for certain people. There's some people that like, man, I preached a good sermon. I was faithful to the text. I love my wife. I love my people, and let the chips fall where they may. That I agree with that approach to a degree, but I do think observing what are some, as much as we can, what are some spiritual markers, whether it's reaching people, not necessarily baptisms or community. How many people are in community, or how many people are serving, or how many people are being discipled? And so I don't think we should be negligent or ignorant to that either. And so I think you got to know what type of leader you are, and then try to counterbalance the opposite way, and then put people around you personally and professionally that can, I mean, we all have to battle the flesh and keep that. So that was where my mind took me. I don't know. That's a different take on it.
I think if you're also looking at the beauty of that quantifying things as Adam was leaning into, I think we have the propensity and we have the technology to add some of those things up, unfortunately. I think with that, as you're holding that in one container, like I know how many people are coming and sitting in these seats. I know what the giving is like. I see evidences of faithfulness. We got to remind ourselves of what the Lord's called us to in shepherding people, and particularly oversight of a church that we're supposed to present it spotless to Christ, mature believers, and not thousands of believers, maybe not rich believers, but surely faithful and mature believers in Christ Jesus. And if we continue to go back to the text and let those things guide us, so the question is that how can I get more people in the door? How can I get the saints that are in the door closer in a walk with Christ in alignment with his word? And as a byproduct, maybe more people come through the door, but only to the point where we're ready to continue to move them towards Christ and maturity. So I think our prayers and our ambitions have to align with the word of God, where we put our heart to where his heart is, and we're faithful there, and we just trust Christ to give the growth, right? Like he's the one who does it. And I think
did that ad hit your phone too, John? There's one that's been coming to my phone, and it's a guy, and it's a church growth kind of strategy thing. And the first thing he says is the key to growing any church is to get more people in the door. And it's like, yeah, but that's not our mandate to get people in the door. I would hope we want to, and we all understand the math of that sort of thing, but that is not the goal of churches. And to be frank, that's a big reason for the mess that we see in much of American Christianity today, because of that kind of thinking, that it is our goal to just draw people, for any reason in any way we can.
Yeah, you start hearing some things that, like, I cringe when I hear, we'll do anything short of sin to reach people. It's like, oh, that's too far. But let me pose this question real quick, because we each have our natural bent. John might be gifted in discipleship, like have an extra bent toward that, like Lord put in you, Adam, because of your testimony. You might have a natural bent toward evangelism and reaching the person, or each of us, I think, have if you cut us open, the Lord's given us different gifting. I think back to Tom Rainer's book, Autopsy of a Dying Church, and he says the first and number one marker is inward focus. So personally, me, whenever I preach, I'm all the time trying to balance, okay, feed the saints, but also for the person in the room who thinks they might be a saint, but never has truly entered into an authentic relationship with Christ, be evangelistic. And in a day-to-day, when we're going about leading our ministries and shepherding our flock, I have a counterweight of feed the flock, kind of like Eric Reed talked about, feed and lead. So what do you guys think? What would categorize as like a danger zone inward focus? Because they're both, I think sometimes whichever gift a guy has, the opposite side is the enemy. If you're naturally evangelistic, all they care about is discipleship. They don't care about reaching people. If you're naturally discipleship gifted, all they care about is reaching people, and they don't disciple anybody. But both of them need to happen. Now in a church context versus in a Great Commission personal context, John, what's the counterbalance there? What's too much inward focus? I think we know what too much evangelism, meaning like trying to, what Adam was, I think we know what that looks like. But what's the danger of the inward focus leading to death? What do you think?
Well, I think probably less about an inward focus. I think it's not the greatest term. I think it's self-service.
Sure.
I think is a better articulation of when you get to the danger zone, right? Like our service needs to look like this. The people who come in need to look like this. We're comfortable with this looking like this. We're comfortable with these songs, not because they're biblically or theologically, but because we've sung them for so long, or whatever those things are. And so I think for a lot of ways, the danger is when you look to serve yourself, when your preferences supersede your ambition to grow in Christ.
That's good.
Right? How can I continue to maintain my preferences here with this local body instead of continue to walk with Christ? And I think that's a really dangerous spot. I think that's when it gets to the point of death and dying. I think inward focus, as some people characterize it, meaning I'm growing in the Lord, I'm investing in the faith of my brothers and sisters in Christ, I'm encouraging them through the one another's. I think some people would couple that in with the inward focus. And I think that would be false, because we're supposed to teach and to train and equip each other to not be tossed by every wind of doctrine. And so I think deep teaching towards one another should lead to expressive evangelism
Yeah.
out in the community as you begin to really be enthralled with God. And in a lot of ways, so I think a better term, just my opinion,
I agree.
is not inward focus, because I think there's some good, healthy parts of that, but self-service.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the key. Discipleship that and love for God that should create a love for other people. And I think that's the thing when it throws off what people are so, oh, I've been, had a 3-hour quiet time and D-group in this, but they have zero desire to reach the lost people in their oikos, in their home, in their family. And so I think that's that balance. Adam, any final words to take us out?
Yeah, I would just use a synonym for what John said, and it's the word maintenance. And if you spend too much, you might say, of the percentage of your church's time and energy on maintaining, I don't want to say a status quo as if it's unspiritual, but maintaining business as usual, you might say, that's how churches slowly but surely will die. If somebody is not always pushing that envelope, hey, we got to get out, we got to reach people, that's how churches die.
Yep. Have healthy, godly expectations, especially for your team when they've choked for 30 years plus. We'll be back next week with more playoff coverage. Everybody, Adam A. Smith, you have a great day, sir.